Some people move to the countryside for peace. I moved here for peace and privacy. After years of dealing with HOA board meetings, neighborhood surveillance moms, and being told what shade of beige my mailbox had to be, I finally escaped, or so I thought. Limit users reporting meetings to a phase and guarding a longing. You'd think buying a small, off-grid cabin in the woods would finally get you away from entitled HOA lunatics, but somehow they still find a way to ruin your day, or in my case, try to ruin it and end up getting exactly what they deserve. This is the story of how the president of a nearby HOA decided to break into my secluded mountain cabin to throw herself a party, only to learn the hard way that I don't mess around when it comes to trespassers, especially not when I've rigged the entire place with some very creative security measures. It all started when I inherited the cabin from my grandfather. Nestled in the hills of the state forest, the old log cabin sat on 15 acres of untouched land. It was peaceful, beautiful, and most importantly, outside the jurisdiction of any HOA. I had renovated it with my own hands over 2 years, turning it into a functional retreat with solar power, water filtration, and one ironclad rule. No one enters this cabin without my say. And just for fun, and let's be honest, revenge for years of HOA nonsense, I rigged the place with non-lethal booby traps. Nothing dangerous, just extremely unpleasant and very humiliating. Think paint-filled balloons behind doors, industrial-strength itching powder in common drawers, and a deer scent spray rigged to tripwires. You know, cabin fun. The nearest neighborhood was a pretentious little gated community about 2 miles down the hill. They had their own HOA, overly strict, self-important, and constantly trying to beautify the area, even though they had no legal authority over my land. Their president, Linda, had introduced herself once when I was working on the roof. "I hope you'll be keeping your property up to code," she said with that tight-lipped, condescending smile that tells you she's already filed a complaint in her head. I simply replied, "My cabin isn't part of any HOA, Linda, but thanks for the unsolicited concern." That didn't sit well with her. Over the months, I caught her driving slowly past my gated driveway. Once, she even had the nerve to leave a flyer about neighborhood standards in my mailbox. I tossed it straight into my compost. Then came the weekend of the incident. I had gone out of town for a work trip, leaving the cabin locked up. Motion sensors and cameras were set, tripwires primed, nothing dangerous, just enough to let an intruder know they made a mistake. Little did I know, Linda and her troop of HOA bootlickers saw my absence as the perfect opportunity for a private event. The footage I watched later still makes me laugh. Around 6:45 p.m., a convoy of SUVs and luxury crossovers drove up my dirt road. My gate had been cut clean open. Linda, and holding a tray of cupcakes, led the group. Behind her, people hauled coolers, balloons, wine bottles, and speakers up to my cabin. My cameras picked up every detail. She strutted around like she owned the place. "Well, he's not using it this weekend," she told someone. "And I've always thought this cabin had potential, just needed a woman's touch." They broke the lock on the front door and let themselves in. That's when the fun began. Booby-Trapped number 1, the paint can surprise. The moment they opened the coat closet, thinking it was a pantry, they got greeted with a splash of cold, fluorescent blue paint, right in Linda's face and all over her designer pantsuit. She shrieked so loud it activated the audio sensor on my camera. "What the hell?" someone screamed. "Why would there be paint in a closet?" Linda, wiping her eyes and smearing the blue further, barked, "It's probably just some stupid decorator trick." Wrong. It was just one of many tricks for idiots who break into private property. Booby-Trapped number 2, the drawers of doom. A couple of her friends tried to help clean her up. One opened a drawer in the kitchen looking for towels. Bad idea. That drawer was rigged with ultra-fine itching powder, activated the moment it was opened. Within minutes, half the party was scratching like rabid raccoons. "Oh my God, what is this? My skin's burning." One woman ran outside and started rolling on the grass, trying to get the powder off her arms. Linda was yelling at people to get it together, but then it got worse. Booby-Trapped number 3, the deer scent tripwire. Trying to open the back door to get some air, Linda tripped a near-invisible string. A small pressure-activated canister above the door frame blasted her with concentrated deer scent, the kind used by hunters to attract bucks. Now, if you've never smelled deer scent, just imagine the unholy offspring of rotten fish and gym socks multiplied by 100. It's vile. Linda dropped to her knees, gagging. Someone started vomiting in the corner. The cameras showed chaos. People running outside, scratching themselves, slipping on the wet porch, trying to clean blue paint with bottled water. One guy tripped over the firewood pile trying to escape and screamed something about suing someone. Linda, now smelling like roadkill and painted like a Smurf, stormed back inside to call the cops from my kitchen. She must have dialed 911. Yes, I'd like to report an act of terrorism. Someone has rigged a house with traps. Yes, we're at the log cabin off Mill Ridge Road. Except it was my house, my land, my traps. When deputies arrived 20 minutes later, lights flashing, they found about a dozen yuppies covered in powder, stinking like deer bait, blue-faced and yelling over each other. The officers were baffled. I live here, I told them over the phone. Check the deed. My name's right there. I gave them full access to the cabin's security footage, property damage, and, because of the gate, criminal mischief. Linda tried to lie, said I invited her, that I gave her permission weeks ago. Wrong again. The deputies informed her she was being charged with trespassing and destruction of private property. Her HOA buddies tried to protest, but when officers started taking statements and listing names for citations, everyone started backpedaling. The best part? The media picked up the story, the headline, "Local HOA president caught on camera hosting unauthorized party in private cabin, leaves in handcuffs." She was fired as HOA president within 48 hours. The board released a statement condemning her actions and permanently banned her from future elections. I filed a civil suit for damages, which included repairs to the lock, gate, and cleanup, along with emotional distress just to twist the knife. She settled fast. The kicker? About 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just a smeared envelope with taint fingerprints still visible. Inside was a half-crumpled note that read, "You're a monster. Hope you're proud. L." You know what? I am proud. Because sometimes people like Linda need to be reminded, you don't get to break into someone's sanctuary and treat it like a rental venue. Not everyone is going to roll over when you bark about HOA rules and neighborhood vision. Some of us have had enough. Some of us build cabins in the woods, not just to escape the world, but to make damn sure the worst parts of it stay far, far away. So if you ever find yourself tempted to sneak into a cabin that doesn't belong to you, just remember, some places are booby-trapped, some people are watching, and some revenge is best served covered in paint, deer stink, and itching powder. Linda learned that lesson the hard way. And honestly, I wouldn't change a thing.